Hello, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of what I did to replace the pull string on Husqvarna 435 chainsaw. I snapped my cord today. Fortunately for me, it snapped right by the knot on the inside, so I'm going to reuse the same cord simply because it's not otherwise frayed, seems perfectly usable, and with the nature of the world right now, I really like to avoid store trips whenever possible. So I looked at a couple of YouTube videos regarding replacing this, and several that I saw that had quite a few views showed a process where you take this cover off using 4 hex bolts here, flipping this part over and removing this wheel that has like a wound up coil inside of it, and that's what holds the tension on the cord. The problem with removing this white coil holder thing is the coil comes loose and it springs all over the place. It's probably kind of dangerous when it does that, and then you've got to go through this whole other elaborate sequence to recoil it, put it back together, and put it back on here. What I found though, when I removed, I was prepared to do that, but when I removed this and I started looking at it, the way that this is built is actually quite nice, where you have that opening where the cord comes through and it angles up slightly towards that bolt. And so if you run your cable, your cord, through the opening on the cover here, and you thread it inside of there. I just grabbed a pair of tweezers, made sure that the end wasn't frayed and so that it would easily slip through there, and slipped them in there, grabbed it with some tweezers, pulled it through, tied my knot, and I was good. However, the one other part of this is that you essentially have to wind this up in advance before you thread that through. Otherwise, you have no tension on your cord. So what I found was just by kind of temporarily putting it in place, winding it up, that the cord was just over 4 full rotations. So what I did was, without the cord in, I wound this and counted, and I did 1 extra so that there's tension on it before the pull. So when it pulls the handle in, it's going to hold that tight, and I'm going to have good tension from the beginning of my pull when I'm starting the chainsaw. And so I wound it up 5 times, 1 extra turn to create that tension, and held that in place. It was a little tricky doing it by myself. About as tricky as holding this phone while I'm recording the video, and I'm actually holding this. This wants to spring shut, but I'm holding it open so you can see the line here. But I just wound it up 5 times, threaded my cable through, held it in place, tied my knot on the end, and gradually let it spring back into place. And the knot will want to sit. You have it tight. The knot will sit kind of up on the top of this here, recessed in place. I have my pulley tight against the opening with good pressure as I begin the pull. So I haven't put it all back together to make sure that I'm on the right track, but everything looks right and seems right. And then, of course, good tools maintained properly last forever. So I'm using this as an opportunity to clean the blades and just get all the dust and grime out of there. But that's besides the point. It seems to me that by far this is the easiest way to replace the pull string. on Husqvarna, at least model 435 and similar models to this. I hope this helps some of you out there.